Nicodemus here. I wanted to have this episode be about what do we do when we're seeing red, when we're just so angry, we're shaking and we don't know what to do.
Yeah, it happens. I think probably at some point, maybe in everyone's life, at some point, there's a whether that type of conflict, anger, attack, fighting. It shows up maybe a little differently, but everyone's probably experienced it at some point. And we start with the premise that the Course says is attack is never justified. Anger is never justified. No matter how much we think that it is, if we understand that all we're doing in that moment is attacking ourselves. And how do we navigate that? The first thing is the Course says it's like whoever is the most sober, because you said seeing red. When you're seeing red, you're literally drunk with the anger. So they're just like when you're intoxicated with alcohol, it's as though something else takes over. And we could, from the Course perspective, we would say that the ego is now taken over. When you see someone that's that enraged, it's like they're not themselves. So they almost seem possessed. Well, that possession is really, and that anger and that rage and that seeing red is actually the attack against themselves that is just being projected out onto this person. So this person actually shows up as the symbol of our own war against ourselves. I know this is, as I say this, for a lot of people, it's really almost challenging to hear at first, because most people would go like, I don't want to feel this way. It's because of this person. Well, it's actually never because of the person. It's always because of our beliefs and our interpretations about the person and the situation. And what the Course would say is those beliefs are either going to reflect the Holy Spirit's beliefs system or the ego's belief system. And the Holy Spirit's belief system is only about love. Everything's either love or a call for love. See, if somebody let's say, is angry with you, is hurt, is angry, whatever is creating conflict with you, that's a call for love. If you and I respond with anything but love, that makes us insane. Now, the question really becomes is, how do I not respond with that attack when I see red and all of that? It really is like whoever's the most sober needs to call in the Holy Spirit, really. So I've actually done this even myself, where it's like, if you're sober enough to go like, wait a second, I don't want anything to do with conflict right now and yelling and anger. Now that we also need to not collapse this with like, I'm just a doormat in the world. Like, I'm not going to let people just, break agreements, push boundaries, walk all over me. That, like, all that stuff, I can have all clear agreements and boundaries in the world and things like that. It's just navigating through life. That doesn't cause any issue. The issue is when I go into anger, which is like, they should be, if they were different, I'd be saved. If they were different, I would feel better. It's my lack of peace is because of them. And it's just not true, because I'm only affected by my thoughts. So calling in the Holy Spirit, whoever's the most sober calls in the Holy Spirit. Now, I think getting to the root of why would we get angry like that in the first place, though, right? Because once we find ourselves, like, part of in the beginning, it's like, okay, got it, I'm angry, call in the Holy Spirit. Okay, but then this is my experience. What stops happening is, like, I don't really have fights and arguments with people. It doesn't show up in my life. So there's no, like, with my wife and I, we got to call in the Holy Spirit because one of us is drunk with anger. Like, that just doesn't show up for us. Now, we've both, like, practiced this for many, many years. So, like, in the beginning, it might keep coming up in the beginning. Oh, I'm pissed off again. But what starts to happen is you start to learn. Like, wait, oh, there it is again. I'm not going to be sold on this again right now. Oh, and you stop seeing red. And then it's like, you know what? Hey, why don't we take 5 minutes before we talk about this? Hey, let me take a few breaths. Hey, you want to pray before we talk about this? Like, hey, Holy Spirit, can you just have this be loving? Because I don't know how to do it. And if I did, I would probably have done it already. But if you leave it up to me, I'm gonna seek out war, because that's what I taught myself. That's what the world taught me and what I bought, basically. So I'd love to read this, just a quick, this whole section of the course is really amazing, but I'll just read maybe the first, I'll read the first paragraph, because I think that the first paragraph says a lot. And this section of the course is chapter 4, section 4, which is titled, "This Need Not Be." So like when you're angry, this need not be, right? So anger is like falsely accusing or condemning what we see because we judge against it. But that's to put us in the position of God or the Holy Spirit. Actually, you and I, all of us, are in no position because we don't even perceive what's in our own best interest. So how could I even say if something is good or bad or this or that, where I have no idea, really, I don't know what anything is for. So it starts, it says, if you cannot hear the voice for God, it's because you do not choose to listen. That you do, and do is italicized, that you do listen to the voice of your ego is demonstrated by your attitudes, your feelings, and your behavior. Yet this is what you want. This is what you're fighting to keep and what you're vigilant to save. Your mind is filled with schemes to save the face of your ego, and you do not seek the face of Christ. The glass in which the ego seeks to see its face is dark indeed. How can it maintain the trick of its existence except with mirrors? But where you look to find yourself is up to you. It goes on and it gets even better, that section, but just for the interest of time, it's like, how can the ego, I love this line right here. It says, the glass in which the ego seeks to see its face is dark indeed. See, all that's happening in that moment of that anger is the lights go out. That's how the ego looks for its, as you look for yourself in the dark. Because if you look for yourself in the light, the ego will be blotted out. It'd be seen to be nothing. So it ultimately comes down to like the ego convincing of us of its reality, which we made it, which it really comes down to us wanting what we made to be the truth and reality, which really comes down to us wanting to play God and kick God off the throne and put ourselves on the throne, which is really what you and I and all of us are angry about. We're really pissed because excuse my language, we freaking walked away from the kingdom. And I said that, yeah. I mean, we walked out of, it says like in the Bible, we were kicked out of the garden. We weren't kicked out of the garden. We walked out. That's what he's saying here is the glass in which the ego seeks to see its face is dark indeed. How can it maintain the trick of its existence except with mirrors? So it has you always looking over here, look over there. Oh, I'm angry about this. Oh, I'm pissed at that. It'll have you be pissed at everything except actually what the problem is. It'll have you, oh, it's this person. Oh, it's this situation. This is why I'm really upset. No, this one really pissed me off. No, this one is the real one. No, this one is, it's like, it keeps having you chase after and uses all these mirrors so you look over here so you never find what the actual problem is and why you're really pissed off. And why we're really pissed off is we think we left God. Because deep down, separation from God, of course you'd be pissed off because you then would think God is against you. So how could you not be pissed off? How could you not be afraid then? Like, of course you're angry, but the anger is not at this person or this event or the situation. The ego wants you to look there so you never see that it's where it really is. That's why he says, but how can it maintain the trick of its existence except with mirrors? But then what Jesus says, he's like, where you choose to look for yourself, where you choose to find yourself is up to you. You don't have to look for yourself in all of this, in the world, and all of the images that the ego portrays and how the world sees you and how special you are and how special you're not in someone else's eyes and all these illusions and that you're a body and going to die. You can actually wake up to the truth that you're pure spirit and a pure, free, eternal being. And when you understand that, the anger stops showing up because why would you attack any part of creation? Just to attack any part of creation is to attack God and to attack yourself. So anger loses its meaning. It's not seen to be valuable anymore. You just stop seeing it as valuable. That's why that's why anger doesn't have any value for me. I mean, if it comes up, I would then just do what I'm telling you. I'd go like, okay, I don't really see this person. The thing for me is like I have the course running through my mind all the time. So throughout the day. So if I'm getting angry, then it's almost like I just hear the course or I hear Jesus' voice be like, attack is never justified. Like the only way to win the war is to walk off the battlefield. And in all these cameos, he spoke about Edgar Casey in one of them. There's another cameo called The Blue Gray Bird, in which Helen had a dream in the 1940s, early 40s, and the war was going on. And in this blue gray bird, Jesus used this analogy of this bird that's like stuck on both sides of a war on this like just branch that's withered away. And the bird doesn't realize it can fly away. And it stays there, and it's blue-gray, and one side's the blues and one side's the grays. So the bird thought, if I split myself in half with my colors, if the grays win, I could be like, well, I think I'm part gray because the bird's part gray. And if the blues win, you could be like, I'm part blue, see? If the blues win. And the bird's just trying to play both sides and, like, just hovering over the war on this, like, withered branch. And what Jesus is saying to Helen is, like, that's like anytime you're in conflict or attack, that's what you're doing when you could just fly away and walk off the battlefield. But you have to see that anger holds no value for you anymore. And the only way to do that is to seek what he's saying. He's like, if you're angry, this need not be. Like you could see it another way. It doesn't have to be that way. And that's what the Holy Spirit teaches us over and over and over again. And that's actually how we protect our heart, our spirit, if you will. That's the correct use of protecting truth, or the denial of the ego, just saying, like, I'm not going to look there because it doesn't hold anything. Attack holds nothing that I want. Defense holds nothing that I would seek after. And that's how we get free, or actually recognize that we already are free.